We're going to wait the 600 minutes for everything else to come in, but they should be able to see you. Looks like it is live. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Lore Reloaded. Love to see all of you fancy people here. We are not doing the Dungeons and Dragons thing that, or not, oh my God, Star Trek Adventures. We're talking Dungeons and Dragons. We were thinking about doing maybe a one-off where he could challenge me as a DM, but that scared me off. So we're just going to have a conversation.
It's okay. Look, we're here to be friends. It's all right. We reach. Oh my God, it's getting rid of like part of my body. Look at that.
Yes, you're disappearing.
What the heck?
What's great is with the OBS, since it's disappearing, your star thing goes with my background, so it's like you're just disappearing into my background.
Let's see if I can like really, like I can craft. There we go. There we go. I have to like craft a new body there.
Like you're coming out of the ether.
There we go. There we go.
Ah, it did look like you were floating.
Ridiculous.
That was awesome.
Ridiculous.
So today we are going to be
Lower
talking.
Deck sucks.
Yes, it does. It's true.
Lower Deck is the best show ever. Okay, I just got rid of all your viewers. You're welcome.
You did, except for the two that are in the middle.
You two are awesome. I just want you to know.
And they're gonna get upset that we said that that it sucks or that it's good.
Well, that's true. They'll be kind of like they'll be leaning like, well, I'm not sure I like him now.
They're gonna. Yeah, exactly. They're going to be like, or they're just going to talk to us about how horrible they are that, we're taking a stand. It's like, you should stay in the centrist. You should be in the middle. I always looked up to you.
Center myself here. Oh, let me get rid of my body while I center myself here. There we go.
Dude, we could pause and you could get a... Well, it's part of it is that yellow shirt. I didn't even think about that, but you're wearing a yellow shirt.
Look at that. Look at that. How far up can I get this? Oh, hang on. There we go. I lost it.
We could get you a green shirt and just go all the way.
I actually have a shirt that is the exact shade of this. I could wear it and just be ahead. And the forearms because it's short sleeve.
After you disappeared. So today we'll be talking about, I mean, if you want to get the shirt, it'd be funny. But today we're going to be talking about if you should be watching Lower Decks immediately or the advantages of it. You're thinking about it. I could see.
I am thinking about it.
Go ahead. It's fine. I'll keep them busy. I can dance.
I don't know if you can keep them entertained without me, though.
That's true. That's true. As you know, my channel barely keeps up with yours.
It's true. That's why you're beating me in every metric on YouTube.
Yeah, except for like being financially worthy. You still beat me on YouTube with that too. I'm sure, sir. I'm okay with that.
I'm sorry, I'm reading chat.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say I'm okay with that. I thought you were letting it get awkward. I'm okay with it. I get paid. I get paid by the hour, so we can go as awkward as you want. I don't care. We're all here to have a friendly, civil discussion.
If we want to get awkward, no, I don't know how to deliberately get awkward. No, actually, I know how to get deliberately awkward. First, you suggest that we should get awkward, and you stop. And then you let the other person think about it, and their mind starts processing. Oh God, what's he thinking about?
You let them build it.
Yeah, exactly. They're building the topic, and it's just, oh my God, what could he be bringing up? What could be so awkward? He hasn't said anything yet. Why hasn't he said anything yet? He's so hesitant. And you gotta play into it. You gotta be like,
and just stare.
Well, no, you gotta be like, and then you like hesitate and you pull back, like you're thinking about how to phrase it, whatever it is. Really build it up, I don't study human beings.
Oh, we could both take off our shirts too. That was something someone said.
I'll just kind of, Oh wait, no. If I take off my shirt, maybe I'll vanish here. I can actually get rid of part of my shoulders. Look at this.
I almost want you to take off your shirt to see if it happens. If it works just like a green shirt, that would be freaking hilarious.
It's just I'm too pale for that. Like you get past this, I literally can't bring my shirt up enough. You can kind of see the tone difference immediately. Look at that. I have a severe farmer's tan.
I was gonna say. So I figure we could sit here and just talk about whatever we want, talking about the topic.
Apparently we're talking about shirts.
Talking about shirts and putting it in green screens.
This is the excellent entertainment you can only find at Lore Reloaded's channel. Make sure to give them as much support as you can, and you will get more of this fantastic
That's content. What I'm saying. One wonders why I don't stream more with this just epic epic information. Oh, do you have a Green Ranger Morphin suit? Because that'd be excellent.
Oh, that's a good idea. But no, alas, I was always a White Ranger. Oh, that sounds horrible, doesn't it?
Wow, sir. In this day and age?
It's true, seriously? Though. The White Ranger was the best when he came back. And he really was awesome.
Which Rangers did you not like? Like the Yellow and Black Ranger? Were they pretty subpar for you? Or
honestly, no, I'd go with Pink.
You didn't like Kimberly?
Really flat. I mean, I like the actress, and she's done some decent stuff outside of Power Rangers, but they never did anything with her.
Yeah.
She was just the girl, and I hate it when it was the Beverly Crusher problem all over again.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
Gates McFadden is an excellent actress, and you just put her over there and have her do occasional medical things. Let her act. No, don't let her have sex with a ghost. Let her act.
right. Yeah. It was, I don't know. And Rangers was so campy too back in the day. Like I remember
God.
it's like worse than like the Kim Possible movie, which was incredibly campy. Like there would be I remember there was a baby thing that got away, that it was like rolling down a hill one episode, and they was doing like just flips. Just like tons of flips and jumping and stuff. Instead of just running full score for it, they were flipping over things and like jumping over things as well. It was,
my God.
it's like, all right, can you save the baby or not really? Or
No. Listen, we're busy trying to ninja jump our way down there.
exactly. Do you watch Atop the Fourth Wall? Probably not. You don't. You're like me. You don't have
Heard of
time.
it. I've
So
heard
Atop
of
the
it.
Fourth Wall, it's done by Linkara. And he does I forget exactly what it's called, but it's like the Power Rangers breakdown or something like that. It is like the deepest dive of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers I have ever seen. It's kind of like your stuff, and it's so like excellent, man. I'd suggest, because he breaks it down. He talks about all the different stuff. It's great. Unless he's been canceled. I forget if he's a part of that canceled thing. So if he's been canceled, don't watch his stuff, because like whatever, change the channel. But if so, you should watch it. It's excellent. Will Redstone get Star Trek in order? I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means? Will Redstone
I don't either.
get Star
What's
Trek in
Redstone?
order?
I'm guessing that's a person based on context.
I was going to assume it was a...
Secretly, I am Redstone.
I was going to assume it's like a network, like CBS or whatever. Because, they love getting stuff out of order.
I mean, they're still, last I checked, in the middle of trying to sell, or possibly being courted for selling, because they've been coy about it.
Star Trek?
Yeah.
Okay.
Property.
Okay. Get that on 4chan or?
No. I track financial news.
Oh, okay.
Is this?
Bounding into
I'm getting a
comics?
bunch of Minecraft stuff. I don't think this is what's being referenced here.
Oh, you're
the
looking
idea-
up Redstone?
Actually, that's an interesting question. Would you want them to sell?
I want them to sell Disney. If we're going to sell somebody, I want them to sell Disney. I don't think CBS is going to sell the Star Trek property.
I don't think
at
they're
all.
going to either, but I think they're hedging their bets on that front.
I'd be really surprised. I think that's their biggest moneymaker. I'd be very surprised if they did that. But if I'd want them sell, I'd want them sell Disney all day, every day. Oh my God. Oh, dude, it'd be so awesome. Disney actually respects copyright of all the companies, at least when it comes to this. Of all the companies, for me, I've never had an issue with Disney. Within the hour, any property I've ever done with Disney, within the hour, they're like, "We're sorry," and then they give me my rights back. Never had an issue with them.
Wasn't the guy
Not
either, now that you're
CBS.
saying it. Wait, no, that wasn't Disney. That was actually the license label, the music label. So no, I've never registered Disney either.
CBS, I'm either giving them all of my information and telling them to take me to court, or I got 30 days until it's released. Not because they released it, but because YouTube forces them to release it. One or the other, babies.
Yep.
Oh my God. Yeah, I wish CBS would sell. I mean, Paramount's worse, which is owned by the same company. I don't even know how that works. Like, I'm doing the Star Trek. This has nothing to do with the topic. I'm doing the Star Trek. Yeah, exactly. I'm doing the Star Trek First Contact, and it's being hit by Paramount, which is also owned by the same company. Somehow they're worse. They're a lot more strict. I don't even know how that works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is you're absolutely right, and unfortunately, getting into random pure theory crafting, and keep in mind I haven't been keeping track of this past the financial side of things, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of the biggest reasons why CBS has been pushing Star Trek so hard lately is specifically to stave off any possibility of a hostile takeover. Because that's been in the works for years at this point, and they've also been pushing Star Trek for the last several years. So
I haven't seen any. I hate you, R. McDud. R. McDud's messing with me, just so you know. Because he just called me a shill.
I mean, you are a shill. You've gotten what,
so.
$33 million from CBS just last week.
Yeah,
that's why you have that amazing apartment
that's what I'm saying.
behind you.
See
Look
all
at that.
this?
That is $33 million of a BB-8
right there.
right there.
That gets you, buddy.
That's
what that
that's
right
why
there.
No, that's the Disney shilling. That's
Yeah,
the Disney shilling
exactly.
right there. And my arm's gone again.
So, I mean, because I make so much money that I have to have my studio where I have my bed, because that's what you do with $33 million.
If it makes you feel better, this is the first place I've lived in since I started working out of the office. where my bed is not in the same room as my studio.
Right.
This is actually my bedroom.
So,
My bed's out in the living room.
do you really? So do you really think they're bleeding? Do you think that they're not doing
No,
so?
no, no,
There's
no.
no
Okay,
indication
So
of that.
let's
in my
zoom the
opinion.
camera out. Zoom the camera out. Zoom the camera out. Okay. Oh God, now you're asking me, putting me on the spot, and I don't remember names, but the holding companies that hold the majority of the ownership of the companies that also own CBS were considering shuffling down and liquidating different rights rather than the companies themselves in order to generate some cash. Now, this was like 4 or 5 years ago at this point.
Right.
Now, all of that would be hysterical, Mike Hendon. All of that uh, kind of went nowhere and never actually happened. And then within the last several years, we've had suddenly CBS is just absolutely smashing out Star Trek at a level that's literally never been done before. We are actually at an unprecedented level of Star Trek.
Right.
It is my wild, crazy theory that those two things are actually connected, that someone somewhere at CBS basically greenlit a whole bunch of stuff to either inflate the value in case they were sold so the people on top get tons of money, or inflate the value so nothing gets liquidated.
Okay.
That was the idea. And it is pure theory. I have no sources.
Yeah, that's interesting. I could see 5 years ago them selling it off too, because they weren't doing the best, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. Yeah, I guess I could see that. Sorry, I'm so used to people being like, "Did you know? Did you know that Dave?"
Low
Cameron-"
Reloaded, did you know that
Yeah.
this phone I have right here actually gives you literal cancer?
Yeah, exactly.
It
5G.
also turns you into Professor Xavier. It's like look at this. The
It
phone
disappears.
vanishes. That's how crazy it is. Look at this.
Basically, did you know
Look at that. It's completely blocking everything. Sorry, go ahead.
Dave Cameron punched a baby, which means Alex Kurtzman is not going to be in the next season of Picard. So there's the people say so much stupid stuff. I mean, it's weird being around someone who says something reasonable.
Sorry, I could come up with something really unreasonable. No, I was just gonna make a joke, and then I realized I would really not be. I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Don't have.
You should have made the joke,
Nope,
especially if it's at my expense.
gone.
We could talk about that 4chan post that we found. That was.
Hey guys, did you know people make up random crap on the internet? I know, it's shocking.
So yeah, that's I hate people hate stupid people. Anyway, so a lot of people have been asking, should we be watching Lower Decks? Now, you and me were talking about it, and I understood your point of view.
My
You
point
were
of view is
talking
that it's
about
the worst
historical
show ever
context.
made, and
Exactly.
there's no reason to watch it. Sorry.
And
sorry.
while nothing's been confirmed about Orville, stop reading Bounding into Comics. So my question for you is: was that just for reviewers, or do you think everyone should give it time before they watch? So give
that's
your
a good
theory.
question.
Give your theory on historical context.
All right.
then,
So, do you mind if I go into a little backstory to explain myself?
yeah, I don't
here?
care. Take your time, man.
So I'm
making all
history
the money
geek,
when they super
for
chat.
those of you
so
who
it's all
don't know me. No, don't sub to me. Thought I'm terrible. I'm the worst YouTuber. I don't even really YouTube. I'm mostly a streamer.
He actually, no, I've talked about this before you get into it. I've actually talked about this. Lore Runner was one of the channels when I sat down and I decided to do, he hates this. He hates it when people give him accolades. When I got big into the science fiction thing, when I decided Star Trek is what I was going to do, his channel was one of the ones, I'd watched him for like forever. And it's one of the ones that I actually had in like a file, and I watched a lot of them. And I took some things from him. A lot of it was more SF debris, if it makes you feel better. But I took a lot of notes specifically from his channel. You should check it out. It's Lore Runner. It's not youtube.com/. No, it's not. But if you type in Lore Runner.
It's lorerunner.com. That's what it is.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, go to lorerunner.com. You'll get all of his social media, which is the greatest way to go.
I have social media? Oh my
do.
God. I need to delete that immediately.
You're aware that YouTube counts as a form of social media? Do you?
Nope.
Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, no, it doesn't. Okay.
It really
Okay.
does not count.
Okay. Anyway.
No, what's funny is I always have to explain why I have a Tumblr, because everyone's like, oh my God. And it's like, no, it's a Q&A service. You can use Tumblr as a Q&A? Uh-huh. That's actually what it was designed for. One of the reasons it was originally designed for. There it is, 2011. That's what I thought. You want to hear something weird? This coming Saturday, will be the 9th anniversary of my show.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's coming up,
Wow.
and I'm not going to do anything special for it because I'm busy. I got work to do.
That's right. You disappear for like 6 weeks. I cannot
I got to
believe.
do this for 6 weeks. It's just
I cannot believe. Like I have watched you. I've watched you for years. I've even watched your Twitch, though. Admittedly, usually YouTube is where I went to. But I don't know how I missed that you disappear for 6 weeks. I don't know how that happened.
Well, because my content's still coming out. At least
Yeah,
the
on
non-live
YouTube.
content is still coming out. Like
Well,
I mean, next week. Well, what just came out? Not Lower Decks. We're up to season
yes,
6 now.
Lower Decks season 1.
We had Prophet and Lace. I think was the one that just went live on DS9. I don't remember. I recorded all this stuff back in October.
Yeah. Egotastic Fun Time is a good channel for Orville. I trust their channels over any of them. Yeah.
I suppose I should answer your question though.
Well, I mean, yeah, we were more talking, but it's crazy. Well, to be fair, you could be dead for 6 months if we remember. For those who know that meme,
Yep.
because you got videos.
This is all pre-recorded. Sorry, guys. Sorry, we have algorithms. All right, so I'm a history geek. For those of you not aware of me, and one of the things that we amongst the geekdom tend to agree with is the idea of historical perspective. That you don't want to really severely and sincerely discuss current events because, well, basically the idea is it's a completely different perspective. That's why we call it historical perspective, because in the modern perspective you're seeing things now, you're feeling them more, there's more emotions, it's harder to really properly analyze, you don't have all the information available, etc., etc., etc. From a historical perspective, I could look at events that have happened 35 was the range, but many years ago, and look at them and be like, well, okay, looking at that, maybe this is what happened, and we have access to more interviews and we have access to more information. Let me use a direct example, if I may. Some of you may or may not be aware of the fact that I'm currently in a floodgate cycle, which Laura Reloaded just mentioned, and I am going through TOS. And a lot of this stuff is useful and decent information, and a decent amount of it is also provably wrong. That's when we reference this book, which of course is vanishing. I'm actually going to plug this book because this is an awesome book for anybody curious about the creation of Star Trek, but more importantly, the creation of television. This is an excellent behind-the-scenes thing. This is called Inside Star Trek by Herbert Solo and Robert Justman. This didn't come out until the mid-90s. I want to say 94, something like that. 94 or 96. It'll say somewhere here. 96. I was right. You get my point? If we tried to talk about TOS in, say, the late 80s, we would be missing this. All of the information that's compiled here. This has receipts. This isn't just thing like here. There's an actual copy. Oh God, really? Really, Zoom? Hang on. Oh, it really doesn't want to show. Look at this. It really doesn't want to show it. I swear I'm not making it up. There's actual copies of scripts and receipts and proof, which is my point. This is information we did not have that we now do. That's historical perspective, taking a bit to look at it from a different angle. So, ergo, I am not watching Lower Decks. I haven't watched Lower Decks, I haven't watched Discovery, and I haven't watched Picard. Not because they're terrible and crap and awful, or because they're the most amazing things ever, or because I don't want to give CBS any money. It's because of the fact, because I don't want to give CBS any money, it's because of the fact that I want that historical perspective whenever I do cover them for my show.
I agree.
This is the awkward moment, so you got to.
Oh, I was agreeing. I was listening to you. I thought you were gonna do it more. I
could keep going, but I've made my point, I think.
Sure. So you don't, but there was two pieces to that question, good sir. The first one was from a critical point of view, and then what if someone just wants to watch it? Do you still think
that is a very valid point? So I suppose the first thing I'd say is that I would kill you, and then I would eat your skin, and then regurgitate it as like a new skin suit, and then I'd jump into it, and I'd live your life for several years.
Well, that is more likely to happen than any article on bounding into comics. So
very true. No, so should you watch it now? I mean, I get that question all the time. If I could divert this to video games, I get that question all the time. Should I pick up this game now? Right? And I think that, especially given the fact that TV costs, like you have to actually go and subscribe to CBS, I always presume that the question is from a perspective of I am not already subscribed, right?
Right.
So because if you're already subscribed, then yeah, just go watch it. right? There's no equation at that
Right.
point. It's just going. It's whether it's worth the money and worth the time investment, but mostly the money, because we only have so much of that, especially right now when so many people are losing their jobs. And while we absolutely need entertainment, we also need to be able to eat and drink. So should you watch it immediately? What are your thoughts on that before I actually answer?
Yeah, see, I'm of two minds there because it's the first. It's the first. I mean, I know I get so much money from CBS, as you can see
Millions,
on 4chan.
millions.
Oh my God, I can't believe
That's where my that's actually this green screen was given to me by him by
from
CBS. This is a
CBS. Yeah,
million
I
dollar
mean,
green screen right here.
if you ever asked me if I thought I'd be featured on 4chan, but anyway, one of the it's the first series that I think is actually worth being paid for, but it's kind of too early to tell in a way, because again, you can, if you wait how many ever weeks, like the 20 weeks or whatever, you can just binge it. I think that it's worth the price, but I'd hate to do it and it go downhill, because I feel that kind of happened with Picard. Like, I thought episode 1 and episode 2 of Picard was pretty decent. Had some flaws, was a little slow, but I thought it was pretty decent. But you know, I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. It's just, and they're so money hungry about it. That's why they're doing like they're doing it better with Lower Decks. But the short treks, if you remember, they did one a month when all of them were done, and they did that so you couldn't just binge them all and get the free week or whatever, because it's.
That's exactly why they did that too. I guarantee it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm on the fence just because, as you said, I don't like giving money to CBS, and I'd hate you to get a product that goes downhill. But if it stayed consistent, I would say it's worth getting. I'll agree with you though when it comes to, and the internet is what's changed this a lot. When it comes to the fandom, when it comes to enjoying it, when it comes to going online and finding a place for other people who enjoy it, I think at this point you almost have to wait a couple of years if you don't want to get just the massive amounts of hate.
One way or the other. That's
Yeah.
the best part.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think that, I think more it comes down to if you want to enjoy it. See, now that I think of it, I think it comes down to if you want to enjoy it as a part of the fandom more than anything else. Because you can't go on YouTube. I mean, you can count on one hand how many channels actually like anything, honestly. It doesn't Star Trek, Star Wars, doesn't matter, anything. I think I just live decided that fandoms are toxic until a couple of years after they're done.
say anything.
Yeah, I think I just that just happened live when I had a realization. Because if you look at the fandom who enjoys Enterprise, you can now do that without worrying about anything. We talked about this off camera. The Star Wars sequels are now okay. Apparently, they're just now magically
the
okay.
prequels are okay.
Prequels. I'm sorry. Yeah, not
The
sequels.
sequels,
prequels.
we got another decade to go.
Yeah, but the prequels are now magically okay. You can have a love fest over that. Yeah, man, that is a sad state of being. We are not ready for the internet. The internet came on us. We evolved far too fast.
Do you mind if I piggyback onto that
Yeah.
topic? One of the things I found absolutely fascinating when I went through DS9 specifically is the internet. Now, I know that sounds strange, but what I mean is it was the first time that Star Trek creators had access to the internet to have up-to-date reactions, like they could actually reach out to the fandom while the episodes were going live rather than weeks or months later at conventions or in letters. So all of a sudden they were getting all of this feedback, and Ronald D. Moore and Ira Stephen Bear are the big ones. Both, like Ronald D. Moore, I'm sure some of you even remember this. He used to do his big AOL chats. You remember those?
Yeah.
And he'd just pop in, and it was just a chat room, just like we got the YouTube thing right there. And he would just answer questions and respond to people, and he would get immediate feedback, and it was invaluable and amazing. And then it went too far.
Mm-hmm.
and I hate to say that because I'm not even sure if that's necessarily true, but I do think that kind of immediate feedback thing was incredibly valuable because it in many ways helped to shape just DS9 and helped to give more of an insight into what was happening and why, rather than simply trying to guess. One of the biggest problems that any creator will always face is figuring out what their consumers or customers or viewers or service people actually think and why. Like, if I was to make a video game right now, I would have a challenge of trying to get honest and legitimate feedback from someone based on that, right?
Right.
But thanks to the internet and times, now I have more access to that. But I'm talking in circles. It's an equation that needs to be solved, and I am in favor of more feedback. But that the more feedback you get, that leads to what I call sample size theory. And I'm going to explain this because screw you guys. Sample size theory is the percent is always the same. It's just when the size gets bigger, the percent seemingly gets bigger, and then we pay more attention to the percent. That's it in a nutshell. I love to use World of Warcraft as an example of this. Oh my God, WoW players are toxic and they're horrible and they scream and they cuss and they rage and they're just a horrible. No, they're not. No, WoW just has an absolutely gargantuan player base, so that percentage of toxic players is larger because it's the same percent.
Right.
Right. So that's the issue. We have a singing to noise problem when it comes to feedback. How much of the internet should people pay attention to when it comes to the Trek shows that they're making right now?
Right.
And there's no, I mean, I don't want to dismiss anyone's opinions. Remember, I haven't seen the shows. I want to make that very clear. I don't have an opinion yet. But from a totally neutral perspective of someone who, is not actually involved in this directly, how do you decide whom to listen to and how much? Then you add in, hang on, I got one more thing to add on this. Then you add in politics, office politics, because you know that there's at least 1 or 2 or 8 people in the producer's lounge who has a particular agenda. And those people with agendas are going to pull out the pieces of feedback that support their agenda, and they're going to push it. Because they're going to be looking, oh my God, look at all this. Look at all of this evil, horrible stuff we're getting about this. We should change this immediately. And they could support that with facts and figures. That's what's so insidious about it.
Are you saying executives or when it comes to the people wanting to change things?
I used the word producers on purpose
okay.
because producers is kind of anybody. Sure.
Yeah,
he knows what I'm talking about. Actually, you're on this side, aren't you? For those of you who don't know what I mean by that, producers is a pretty grab bag term on purpose. It's anybody who's actually involved in making it. Yeah, it can be the writers, it can be the directors, it can be the actors,
right.
It can be the executives, it can be the money people. So
right. Well, the only reason because I have my own theories on that. Like, for instance, I don't think CBS I honestly, I don't think CBS in and of itself has an agenda. I think they really just want to make as much money as they can. I do think that they will listen or look at what's happening in the real world and try to determine what the current trend is and then go with that trend. And then they'll hire people who are with that trend. So I don't think CBS as an entity, like at the CBS exec level or at the shareholder level, really necessarily care about LGBT rights or anything.
Well, I guarantee the shareholders don't give a damn. They're only interested in making a quarterly return.
But I do think that they see that that's a big movement, and so they hire like Kurtzman, or they hire Kennedy, or they hire, actually lower level like directors for individual shows that actually care about that, who then push that pretty big. That's always been my theory. A lot of people say, well, CBS is just trying to, and I know this is getting a little sensitive, so we'll be quick on it because I know you don't like going into those topics, but like CBS is trying to do this like crazy radical liberal left thing. I don't think so. I've never actually thought that. I do think that they'll hire people to do that if they see that trend in the world, which is why they go that way.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know.
I want to say, by the way, I agree with you completely. Rogue Robot Studios, I'm not ignoring you. I read very quickly. It's something my viewers know on my stream chat. So if I don't respond, it's because I've already read you and I don't want to interrupt him or myself.
Yeah. Plus, it's my
but
too.
I do agree. We are at the point where broad appeal doesn't have the same problem. And I think, my opinion, purely from an economic perspective, regardless of quality, I think that multiple organizations, that is to say companies who are trying to go for the largest broad appeal possible, is one of the bigger issues we have in the entertainment industry as an aggregate. Movies, shows, games, books, music.
Yeah.
I think that is a huge problem because that's what you used to do, right? The 4 quadrants. How many of you know what the 4 quadrants mean? Do you know about this, Low Reloaded?
Walk me through it and we'll see.
Yeah, I don't remember the names of each 4. Give me 1 second. 4 quadrants. Because I don't remember the names of all of them. Here we go. The 4 quadrant movie thing. We've got, what are they? So we've got male under 25, male over 25, female under 25, female over 25. And the concept here, this is what movie makers for decades, possibly entering the century range, now that I'm thinking about it, have used in order to determine how much money a film gets, how much money a film should make. And they will push this. They will push for films to be written in certain ways or produced in certain ways to appeal to more quadrants. Disney is really, really big on 4-quadrant movies. They want a lot of their films to hit all 4.
Right.
Basically, the widest net possible. That can work. It has worked, but in my opinion, especially percentage-wise, those are the exceptions, not the rules. Generally speaking, if you throw out the net as far as possible, you get a nice big initial sale, and then interest dies off immediately. Like, to use a Star Trek-related example, Star Trek Insurrection, which actually made a decent amount of money its initial week. And then ticket sales died,
right?
Because they were actually going for broad Trek appeal, and we got Star Trek Insurrection. But I have seen Star Trek Insurrection. I don't care for it. I'll go ahead and give my opinion on that one.
Oh, is that far out enough? Has that hit?
Listen, I'm just saying that's a little bit too risky for me to admit that I don't like one of the most reviled films in Star Trek history.
But that's a brave hot take you got there, sir. A brave hot take.
Enterprise isn't that bad. Anyway, so
I think a large part of it is good. I think what happened is they had some really bad. They had a bad. I feel like they had a bad start with it, and then
Insurrection.
And then they made some very, very stupid decisions, like involving Nazis. So
everyone brings up the Nazis. I've referenced that. I'm going to reference that when I get to that episode. Everyone I know, even my friends, including you, reference the damn Nazis.
Right. Well, it's just so bad that it sticks out. That's the thing. Like, because I've done that too. I'm doing the Xindi War. I'm breaking down the Xindi War, and I'm like, wow, this is what Voyager should have been. Because like, if something happens in one episode, it sticks. It's one of the weirdest things to watch in a Trek, in a legacy Trek, we'll say, series, is that it actually sticks, because that never happened with Voyager. Everything always got reset. But if something got damaged in the Xindi War, that's something they have to deal with generally, which was awesome, and I think it was better for it. And I think the Xindi War was good. And I think I learned this from you. The 4th season did really well. I think maybe it was SF Debris that said this, but
of Enterprise.
Yeah, in the 4th season.
SF Debris has also reported, but it's the figures. It was going up. It was getting better.
But it was too late.
But they were already canceled when season 4 was in production. So
yeah, it was the
plug had been pulled.
They righted the ship, but there wasn't anything they could do about it because they had already been canceled.
The Nazis he's referring to, by the way, is the very first episode of season 4 of Enterprise.
What was the last? It was also the last. It was a 2-parter. Because they disappeared.
So it's actually way more complicated than that, and I'll discuss that when we get there. Long and the short of it is that one team made the series finale and then made it in a very specific way, and then a completely other team, season finale. I just said series, and then a completely other team came up and says, "Okay, now we got to deal with that."
Well, that's what they did. That's what they did.
What do we do? And yeah, they wrapped up the temporal Cold War. They wrapped up the aliens. They wrapped up everyone. Everything was wrapped up in that episode. And then they were like, okay, now let's start season 4.
Well, that's how they operated, right? Because and this was your channel, I know, because with Best of Both Worlds, they didn't know how they were going to end it, and it did so massively well. They're like, hey, you know what? Maybe just throwing random things against the wall and not having an ending to it is how we make a lot of money. It happened with Best of Both Worlds. That means it obviously is going to happen every other time on God's green earth.
Yeah, to my knowledge, that has, not counting New Trek again, haven't looked into the new stuff, but up to Enterprise, that has been true ever since TNG. Every single show has had that exact problem.
Right, where they
even DS9 had that problem with its 2-parters, and DS9 was generally more tracked with regards to continuity than Star Trek in general was.
Yeah, I wanted to say there was a major thing that happened that they did. Yeah, with the there was also a lot of miscommunication in Deep Space Nine, like when DS9 was taken, and they're like, we're gonna get it back, and they show up with this massive fleet. But like the writers were like, no, we're not. They're not supposed to have a massive fleet to fight back with.
Yep. So that's why. That's why the very first episode. If you ever wondered, at the very beginning of season 6, episode 1 starts first shot on them talking about how they just got pasted and the 7th Fleet is gone. That's why. It's because there was that miscommunication and that screw up, and they're like, oh shoot, we need to fix this. Of course, that's also when Rick Berman was insisting that the Dominion War should have been a 2-parter.
Right.
The whole Dominion War.
Yeah, and he wanted to have a Federation loss too, didn't he? He wanted. What was going to do? You know what was going to happen with that? Because you know behind the scenes more than me. If they had lost, how they
I
were going
don't
to play it.
know specifics. I don't.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I know it was one of the ideas that was thrown into the breaking room, and that's about all I got.
Okay. That would have been weird to have them like a
Mm-hmm.
two-parter with a loss.
Yeah.
Do you think the Year of Hell should have been a full season?
Hmm. So here's my answer to that. That's actually fascinating you ask that because I hate you and your stupid, awesome, glorious, sexy face. Why are you so much sexier than me? God.
Well, I mean, we've never been in the same room at the same time, so it could be
Oh
the same
God.
person.
No, don't tell them. Don't tell them.
It could be the same person for all they know.
So on the if you asked me that a few years ago, I would say absolutely yes. I have been studying, deep studying, way more than I ever have Trek for these last few years, and I've come to the conclusion that no. What we needed, however, rather than the Year of Hell being a season-long thing, is we needed Voyager to pull season 3 Enterprise.
Right.
We needed, I call it string continuity, like you were talking about earlier. Each episode leads directly in the next one, and each consequence matters for each full episode. It's how Star Trek is being done nowadays. It's how most television is nowadays. But I do think Voyager needed that at least for one season, whether it was the Krenim or whatever. Shrug, right?
Right.
It's worth noting, even season 4 of Enterprise actually still follows string continuity. It just does it even smarter than that because it does arcs which bend into another arc, which bends into another arc, which bends into another arc.
Well, the I think I've talked about this before. I'd be interested in your opinion. When it came to the Borg, I don't like what they did with it. But going on that piece, if I had to do the Borg, I would have done it like a season arc, like you said. Going through space would have took a season, and it almost would have been like The Walking Dead with a Star Trek skin, where they were always on the run. They were always trying to hide out. Like there would be small bastions of space where they could get that the Borg just hadn't found or something was going on, and like small because when you think about it, I guess it could make sense too. If a system is assimilated, that doesn't mean everyone gets assimilated. So they could maybe find a place like a nebula or something that the Borg just don't go near or something, or have developed technology, but they developed it too late, so only a few of them had it. And then yeah, just had it where they would be constantly on the run and hiding from the Borg. If we were going to do the Borg, I don't know that I would have done the Borg at all. It's just they're too powerful. I mean, what are your thoughts? How have you written the Borg? Because I think they completely destroyed
You're
them.
baiting me here, right? Like
I
this is
am.
deliberate.
Yeah, because it's good. It's good views.
So for those of you not aware of why I find this amusing, I used to have a lore runner version of Voyager that I was writing, and I was sharing it in my ruminations as I
Should have
went.
never
And then
stopped. It
and
was.
then my viewers voted for me to stop
Well, they
at
were
the time,
wrong. They were wrong because it
so
was.
I stopped.
What was it? Is
But
the Orium? What's it called? The I think it calls. It ends with Orium. I think.
what are you going for?
Your universe.
Oh, the extant.
No, it was something else. You call it something else.
No, it's the extant.
Okay.
That is my
It was,
setting.
it was something else, but it was something else before.
It used to be called something else, but I never named it that. If that makes any sense.
Okay, I thought you named it something else. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, what would you have done? And you
The
shouldn't
point
stop
being,
it.
what I would have done, season, God, I don't remember all of my exact notes, but season 1 was mostly just struggling, trying to figure out what's going on, building up to things, you know. And then season 1 would also introduce tales and stories of this power, which is this alliance of people. And they're like, okay, you know, that works. We'll go and reach out to them and we'll figure it out. And they do, and for the most part, it is a positive endeavor. However, the problem is they break one of the biggest rules of another. Let's call it a confederation. I call it the conclave. And the confederation had only a few very simple rules. And again, it acted like a normal confederation. Each state is effectively independent, except for a few key areas. One of those was tech. You couldn't have technology be too advanced. There was points you couldn't reach past. And because of Voyager's interactions with the Terranok Alliance, that was leading to them getting too advanced. That led to the conclave smashing down on them. That was the next overall arc, is them dealing with the conclave and basically sprinting away. And what I was going to do was effectively a Year of Hell equivalent of them being ransacked and destroyed and barely surviving the conclave. And then they finally get to a point where the conclave just sort of stop following them. And they're not really sure why. And I would have a whole episode about that quiet tension right at the end of the season as they're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And they find out it's because they've entered Borg space. And the whole idea here was that all this buildup was this is how people survive in adjacent to Borg territory. They stay under the radar. That was my solution to the Borg, because I've said it so many times, the Borg are overpowered.
Right.
Way overpowered. So there's only a couple of ways we can come up with to reasonably explain why they haven't already won. And frankly, Star Trek's never come up with a good example, so I can just say that. But anyways, so that was my explanation. The Borg have a line. As long as you stay below this line, they don't care about you. You don't matter.
Right.
You go above that line, well. So Voyager, crippled, but it's still very high tech, enters their territory, and it's like, oh. This then leads to the Borg season, and the Borg season would be entirely about almost exactly what you were prescribing earlier, the idea of, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, and just barely struggling through using techniques they've never done before, trying to actually avoid using warp as best as they possibly can, just all kinds of things, using interspatial entities or trying to slingshot and just use momentum by going around like a black hole for a bit in order to get them a little bit of distance through the system so they wouldn't be detected, and so forth and so on.
Like a submarine thing too.
Every
time they were there,
approach.
they'd be so low level. The energy levels would be like beyond low. You'd always have dimmed lighting and everything. They would use replicators.
Now, if you're paying attention, and I know you are because you're smart and you're awesome and you're sexy, that's you in chat too, by the way. What you're noticed is I don't have a lot of actual interaction with the Borg. The Borg are background.
Right.
They're part of the atmosphere. They're the radiation that you're trying to avoid. And so as they're going through, it's all about the characters and it's all about the individuals and the specific crises. One of my favorite tidbits in Enterprise is there's this great bit. Actually, Enterprise is not a good example. Hang on, give me 1 second. Give me a second. Pull up my notes. What was I looking at? It was a film. Alien, the first Alien film. Okay. This is a weird tangent, but this has been in my mind. Enterprise did this too, but Alien's a more recognizable example. There's this bit relatively early on where a little bit of the acid blood gets out, right? Mm-hmm. And the acid blood starts filtering down and filtering down and filtering down. And that is treated as this monumental, huge crisis. Now, it's only a brief thing, but the point is something so small and so irrelevant suddenly becomes a huge issue because of how fragile they were, right? Mm-hmm. That's why one xenomorph was such a danger in Alien, because they got nothing. They don't even have guns, for God's sakes.
Right.
They had to invent a flamethrower. And that's the attitude, that's the mentality I would have going forward with the Borg season, is we need to, getting water would be an issue because the replicators aren't working properly. Trying to find energy stores in order to keep the non-essential systems going, because all the essential power is going to the stuff which is just barely keeping it under the register, like the warp drive, right?
Right.
I would focus on all kinds of tiny little, very personal, very small scale dilemmas as they're trying to sneak their way through Borg space and just trying very, very hard not to be detected. Now, someone in chat mentioned, what about the Undine? Screw the Undine. The Undine are the Daleks. Right. I mean, don't mistake me. Scorpion was a good damn two-parter, but I don't think there's anything really interesting that can be done with the Undine unless you completely rewrite them, which is what Star Trek Online did. Star Trek Online plug.
Yeah, the Undine, they also don't make a lot of sense unless you paint them as the good guys who the who Voyager never realized were the good guys, and thus were helping the bad guys because they're idiots. Because the Undine were more powerful than the Borg, and yet when they went up against an Intrepid class vessel, which the Borg should, most Borg vessels can just curb stomp, they weren't able to do much to it. And that the only way that makes any sense is if the Undine were pulling their punches. Up until Janeway says, we're going to kill you all, so back off. And now they're trying to defend themselves to keep this ship, which has been on the Borg side the entire time, from killing them. Because there's no reason to take her at her word. Just because Kes listened to one soldier say that they wanted to destroy everything on Earth. So first off, we have to assume Kes didn't misunderstand what he was saying. Kes was completely on board. She wasn't talking to their version of the clan, that he was actually, there's so much you have to assume. And it is the most un-Starfleet thing to take one person, again, they don't know who this guy is, it's a random soldier, take one person's opinion and then not try to have another conversation about it. So I don't like the Undine. The Undine weren't written well, and I agree. I think Star Trek Online did a lot better with them. Ultimately, at first it seemed kind of silly, but I
But at
think
first it
ultimately,
was just like, really?
yeah.
But I do think they went good places with that.
But yeah, so and I agree. Again, it would be a very I would have Borg show up, but you could count on like one hand all of the time. And every time they did, it was a big thing and
Oh yeah. Oh
something
yeah.
bad happened. I mean, cuz it's basically the ticking time bomb trope, which I think is excellent. I
If
forget
done properly.
I forget who did it, but I read it was someone, a critic, maybe I read it somewhere, but it's like if you have two people talking, you don't
Ah,
really you may not necessarily have a lot there. So if you put a bomb in front of them and put a time lapse on it, now you have more tension. But instead of doing that, have those two people talking, take the time bomb and put it under the table,
crap, I
and
can't
they
think of
don't
his
know
name.
where it is.
Hang on, it's gonna drive me batty. I gotta think of his
Does
name.
that sound familiar?
I
May
know
have been
exactly what it is.
SF3.
I've referenced it many
Yeah,
times recently because I call it the types of suspense.
I think it's the ticking time bomb.
Hitchcock.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh,
Hitchcock. It's the
yeah.
Hitch. So it's like this. I actually use a variant on Hitchcock's method. We know the audience doesn't.
Right.
The audience knows. We don't. Neither of us knows. Both of us knows.
Right.
And that's those are the variants in suspense. So the ticking time bomb, you can see how that fits in neatly to that.
Right.
And having the idea of of course someone in chat gets there as soon as I figure it out. The idea of having the Borg as the ticking time bomb would be a both of us knows kind
Right.
of a sentence. We both know the bomb's there. We don't know when it's going off. We know it's just ticking in the background constantly, constant references and constant reminders of the fact that the Borg are here. And if you trip a little bit, you're incredibly screwed.
Right. And it's not just, and you can have it where it's not just like something massive the ship does, but have it so the Borg, because the Borg are pretty powerful. So if someone accidentally activates a shuttle and that reactor comes online past a certain level, then they could detect it. And so you can have just one person messing up. And then again, you can play with that a lot because you can have them enter into a system that's supposed to be safe, and we would get to see the Borg cube or whatever in the background. They don't even notice it because they're running low levels. They can only do passive sensor scans, so they don't notice it at all. Yeah, there's so much you could do. I don't know why they turned them into, even with the Queen. The Queen was an executive requirement, which was stupid in and of itself. But even with the Queen, you didn't have to turn them into a villain of the week, or just not use them. It's just so stupid.
Oh yeah. By the way, just to talk this out, and I want your answer to this question too, because there has to be a question of how do we eventually get out of Borg space.
Right.
There's actually a related question, but that question is something that's harder to answer than it sounds, because I mean that's going to be a hellish journey, no matter how you think of it.
Right.
Also, I know this is really unusual for old Trek, or whatever we're calling. I call it modern Trek. That's what I call TNG, DS9, and Voyager, and Enterprise, I guess. But people, there would have to be deaths. There would have to be permanent loss. There would have to be some kind of cost. Maybe people being blinded, maybe people losing their arms or their limbs, or so, there has to be some kind of permanent cost involved with this trek.
Right.
But how do they get out? One of the ideas that I admit really wish that we had seen more of, and STO barely touched on this too, is the cooperative. The Borg, who are a separate collective and are basically more benevolent in their approach.
Right.
I think Sci-Fi Debris quoted the Borg as saying, the Borg are logic without ethics. I like the idea of the Borg with ethics. I like the idea of that cooperative that will walk up and say, would you like to be assimilated? And I asked a question when I was doing my Best of Both Worlds video. I said, I legitimately think if the Borg showed up and offered openly and honestly for humankind on real life Earth to join them, I guarantee you there'd be people who'd be signing up for that for various reasons.
Right.
Either medical reasons, or because they want that kind of collective thing, or maybe because they have some kind of disillusionment with the world, or maybe it's because it sounds really cool, or maybe they want to be connected to others, or whatever.
Right. Or I guess it can, I don't know if they've ever really explained it, but I guess it's possible you could live longer too, maybe some form of immortality.
That's true with the regeneration thing.
Yeah. So what I would have done is I would have actually not made it. I think it was only one episode, but there was an episode where they did basically they started a civil war, and they never really went. They started a civil war in the Borg, and then they never really went anywhere with it. And that's how.
Two-parter.
You may not like it, but that's how I would have done it. I would have.
No. The Civil War is a perfectly good idea. That episode was dragged though.
I mean, I would have. I would have gone into that, and that's how they got out. So if we wanted to use the same trope where they find out that there's this magical dream place of dreaminess that they can be their own, and then they figure out a way of freeing the drones, then
So, like, say, making a cooperative.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we can do it. It's
It
the same
does
thing.
sound
I get
like
it.
the similar, right? The two could merge seamlessly if you think about it.
Well, and the reason I would have done it is because the Borg are just too powerful to exist overall, and so
Oh, yeah.
I would have
They
written.
need to be brought down.
They need
yeah.
to be taken down, or there needs to be a reason in future episodes why they haven't taken over everything, like you said. And so I would have used Voyager to basically either destroy the Borg or to make it so that we can explain why they aren't there. And I would have used the Civil War to do that.
Dad.
Hey, baby. But yeah, I would have used the Civil War to do that.
Can I
Yeah,
have
no,
a
I-
popsicle?
You can have a popsicle. Sorry, she
Yes,
does that.
nicely.
She does that every time I'm live because she knows I say yes if I'm live. That's
Oh.
that's a common trope of the live.
She's smart.
stream. She is.
So, yeah, no, I actually, my solution for the Borg, well, okay, my after the fact solution, my before the fact solution has always been one ship. I still push that idea that the Borg are one ship,
Right.
because that brings their power level down substantially, but still makes them a horrifying threat, right?
Right.
But after the fact, after we can no longer do that, I've always liked the idea of the Borg adapting, like literally culturally having, getting to the point where they have a culture, getting to the point where they have a mindset, getting to the point where they can do things like negotiate and diplomatize and basically turn into the cooperative.
Right.
And at that point, the Borg are no longer the massive conquering death doom that should have already won. They are another nation which just operates differently from the others.
Right.
And I've always said that's an interesting idea to push that, but that's just me.
They kind of tried to do that though, didn't they? With Guinan, she said. Remember, she said there may be a time when you can trade with the Borg or parlay with the Borg, but you can't right now.
No, I do not remember that. What was that?
Oh, that was.
Don't tell me Q who.
I think if it wasn't Q Who, it was no, couldn't have been Q Who.
No, it
Maybe
couldn't
it
have
was.
been Q who. That's why I'm confused.
No, it
Because
happened
not only
very
have I looked at
recently
Q who
after that though. May have been in Best of Both. No, she did say it though.
Roll to hang on. Where's my dice? Let me roll.
Well, don't worry. We have over 100 people watching. They'll do it. So the episode, let us know what the episode was, but it was towards the end. Maybe it was Q. It was towards the end. And she's talking with Picard and she says, there may be a time that you can actually trade or talk to it, but for right now, you're just resources. So first one to find it gets a lore merit. It's in there. I know it's in there though.
I'm not saying that you're incredibly wrong.
I'm not wrong about this. I promise.
But
I'll bet.
I have
I'll
no
bet you
memory
might.
of this quote.
I'll
First
bet you
and
might.
foremost.
Okay. Well, do you want to make a bet on it before chat finds it for us?
Nope.
We can make. Okay. I'm just saying, if you want to make a bet on it, I know I'm right. It's which one it's in.
I can't imagine it's in Q who though. Like, ignoring her obvious reactions to it, she's the one who is like, "Why are you going over to the ship?
Right.
Why would you ever do that?" I will admit, though, if it's anything, it probably would be in Q who, if for no other reason the fact that the Borg weren't designed then.
Yeah. And maybe it's
Q
right here.
episode, Iborg?
Now, perhaps when you're ready, it might be possible to establish a relationship with them, is what she says. At the end of Q Who, Guinan tells Picard the Q's actions led to a premature contact between the Federation and the Borg. The scene is largely in line with everything we know about the Borg and their history, but she does say one thing that seems remarkable, and she says this now, perhaps when you're ready, it might be possible to establish a relationship. Now, with them, like you said, they didn't know what they wanted to do with the Borg at first, and so the overall theory of Q Who was they met them too early. Not that they weren't supposed to meet them, but they met them too early. I can find it. We can do Q Who script, sir.
I'm watching the episode right now.
Oh, you're watching it live while you're with us?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, ignore me for a minute. I'm watching this.
Well, we could just go to the transcript. It's towards the end. It's the last scene.
I know.
If you're watching. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you know, sir. Glad you know. We gotta just sit here and just be. We gotta ignore him so he's not here anymore, guys. So I can actually look at what you were saying. and do super chats. I know I'm supposed to read super chats. It was in the Hugh episode. Was not in the Hugh episode. Fun fact: the Borg were originally supposed to be those alien worm things that infected Starfleet Command. Lore Runners actually talked about that. We're not definitive on it. It seems like there's a little bit contradicting, but it seems like
She does
that's where
actually
they
say. Wow.
Sorry,
I have no memory of that line. That's hysterical.
sorry. That's a weird way of saying that I'm actually right on Star
No,
Trek
you're right.
lore, and you're not.
I am
Yeah,
legitimately astonished that you're right about something.
Yeah, I
I've
know,
never
right?
seen that
That's
happen
I'm as
before.
surprised as you are live on stream. It's the first and last time it'll ever happen.
I think that's one of those things. If I were to speculate, that I just sort of mentally eject. Like, and no. Hear me out. Because this is Star Trek.
right.
You literally cannot include all Star Trek in
Right.
continuity and a canon because it just contradicts itself constantly. And so I know I'm not the only one who does this. There's things that I just kind of toss out. It's like, yeah, no. And I
Right.
think I just sort of mentally ejected that thing. And all I remember from that episode, all I remember from that scene is how Picard talks about, because I remember that distinctly, where Picard talks about how much they owe Q for giving them that head start.
Right.
Which is doubly strange because that is in contradiction to being told that eventually you might work out things, but now that it's in advance, it's worse.
Right.
And then Picard says, well, thank goodness for that. Like, there's an issue there.
Right.
Whatever.
They
I got nothing.
yeah, they get well, and the other thing is if you remember originally the Borg only went after resources. They only took cities. They only cared about technology. They didn't care.
Yep.
They didn't care about the people. It was even alluded to that the people were just disposed of, I think, to a degree. That at least this is the way.
They also
this is
had
the
the
way I looked
crushes
at it.
with the baby Borg. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Which was ejected immediately after that.
Yeah, we never see that again. Well, I mean, we see it in Voyager, but we never see it in the way that it was supposed to, the way it was inferred. And yeah, and the way I always read the original when they first met them was the humans they just got rid of. They were just whoever was just it was just an inconvenience.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah, what we would do. I never answered someone's question in chat. Someone said, "Would I still do Year of Hell?" I would, but earlier and not the Krenim. If I didn't make it clear, when them dealing with the Conclave and trying to get out of the Conclave, they would get out of the Conclave season battered and broken.
Right.
That would be their Year of Hell, and then they'd have the Borg season, which would be much worse.
Would you?
I call
Sorry,
it
go
the
ahead.
Babylon 5 approach there. You just make things get worse every season. Go ahead.
Would you still do it a similar way where
Everything gets undone at the end? Absolutely no.
No, where they're getting the hell. Would you still have the time travel piece on it? No, you said maybe not. Because I mean, I like the thought of. And I just in the Year of Hell, I thought this was a really interesting way. So they're getting the ever living hell beat out of them in one timeline, right? And they're struggling and they're hurt and they're just trying, and then they figure out a way to stop the weapons because the weapons are temporal. But by doing that, they change everything. But they're within that temporal bubble, so the ship is still got the hell beat out of it. Like in the timeline that they're in, that they changed, the ship would be fixed. But because they're in the temporal bubble, the ship is still beat to hell, and that it would stay beat to hell because they couldn't undo it or something. Would you still do something like that, or you wouldn't even have?
Actually, a good question. I will admit, I've actually always liked the way they approach the Krenim time ship. Because, and I mean that sincerely, it's rare to see actually good time travel in Star Trek, in my opinion. And thank you, Sydney. And I have to admit that I tend to use the approach of less time travel equals better.
Right.
Not none, by the way, just less. That being stated, I do really, really like the idea of the Chronos shielding and it keeping them aware, basically giving them time travelers immunity clause.
Right.
And allowing them to be the weird variant. And of course, I mean, spoilers for the end of Year of Hell. I absolutely love the fact that the ship using the erase from all of history weapon on itself is what fixes everything, because that just makes so much sense.
Right.
Because the ship was never built, so none of it ever happened to begin with, and that lines up beautifully. But anyways, would I do that still? I do like that idea, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't. So I'd be more lenient on doing something like that. But if I did that, that would be probably after the Borg. I feel like that's too much of a game changer to be introduced in the middle of what is basically a concurrent series of events from season 1 to season 4. So like maybe after I would do something like that.
Something fun in that way, as they say.
Well, no, like, because then, admittedly, okay, hang on. You really want me to go into this? Do you want me to go into
Sure.
this?
Yeah.
I would have Voyager get home, like, say, season 5-ish.
You've
early
said
season
that
5.
before.
I've said that a
Yeah.
lot. And then I would have them be like, all right, so now what? And I would have a whole lot of follow through and conflict, and they're related too.
Right.
But hear me out for a second. One of the benefits of Voyager being back home is we, the audience, are aware of how things should be post Deep Space Nine. So imagine for a moment, if you will, I got to be fairly honest. I'm making this up right now off the top of my head. Imagine if Voyager got home and they're like, yes, we made it back to Earth, and things are just off. And at first, they're all just assuming it's weird because of events. But as we, the audience, are introduced to more facts, which they are unaware of, doing that Hitchcock thing again, we know and they don't, we find out that the timeline they've come back to is wrong.
Right.
And as we find out more and more about how it's wrong, we learn about this war, and there's this big talk about how, this war has been very devastating. The Klingons, the Romulans, and the Federation have all unified against this horrible invading force, the Krenim. And then we find out that these temporal things have been happening for some time. And it's just Voyager Voyager is in the middle of this, excuse me. They didn't skip over. They're still affected by the time alterations. However, that then immediately leads to the events you listed. They get attacked by a temporal ship. They use Borg tech they have adapted in order to come up with temporal shielding. Another shift happens, and they're like, oh. And now they have a goal, and then that season could actually be about going after. So we could actually make a whole season of this. Now that I'm thinking about this, the first season back home would be about them going after the Krenim and trying to stop the ship and revert all these changes to make it so that Deep Space Nine happened properly.
Right.
I wouldn't have them lower the shields at the end. I would have the Voyager crew that went through all of the show to date remain the same crew. And so they've still got this battered, beaten ship, which has barely survived all this, but they are the ones who remember everything that happened. And now they're back, and now it's like, okay, now what happened? That's when they find out about the Dominion, and that's when we really get into stuff back home for season 6.
See, the interesting thing, that kind of reminds me of, it would be interesting on that note, before I get into that, it'd be interesting on that note to have the, both Voyager and Deep Space Nine give two different sides of the Dominion War. I think that would have been interesting. Like they get home, you do a season to whatever you have fun with Voyager until it gets into the Dominion War deep in Deep Space Nine, and then you bring Voyager into it, and so you have two different aspects of the war. That could be really interesting. I could see a lot of executives and producers having issues with that, though. But anyway, I think that'd be interesting. Would you do so? I like the way SF Debris finished Enterprise to explain why it's never brought up or discussed, which is to really lean into that Cold War thing, or that Cold Time War, and where they basically sacrificed themselves to non-existence. I think that would have been powerful. Now, I don't know how I would have felt in an alternate timeline where that actually happened. I don't. There's always been something unsettling about just removing yourself from time altogether for me. But I think that probably would have been better than what we got when it came. I don't know. It would have been intriguing to see them do that. And then that explains everything. Like, you have this time war. It's completely messing everything up. No matter what they do. It's basically the Krenim time ship. No matter what they do, they can't fix it. And they find out that it is their existence that has this timeline, and they know that a better timeline will exist if they remove themselves from it, like they never existed.
Film.
And so they
That's a film. What is that film? Viewers at home, what's that film?
Looper?
Where he finds out, he tries to change time over and over and over. It turns out he's the problem, so he goes back and strangles himself in the womb.
That was the director's cut. He didn't do that in the.
I know, but that's only
Butterfly
because
Effect. Yeah.
Butterfly Effect. That's it. Yeah. Because that's a horrifically dark film if you take the director's cut.
Yeah, because he did. He killed himself in the woman.
It's the only way.
Well, the thing about that, talking about just sidetracking on that, God, a couple of the timelines weren't bad. Like when he was a preppy or whatever. I don't know if you know that. When he was one of the high strung, it's called Preppy here. I guess you did it on Bayside if you ever watched that. But where he was like one of the top echelon that didn't look at the plebs or whatever.
An elitist jerk.
Yeah, the elitist jerk, the preppy, where he had the girl, but he got really upset because his car got messed up, so he got into a fight and got put in jail. just let that go, man. That wasn't a bad. That wasn't a bad. I mean, when you look at the timeline you're in,
change time, man. You don't understand. It reminds me of a really dumb Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, The Sixth Day. You ever see that?
I don't think so.
So it's this really, really dumb film. And the premise is that there's these people who are cloning people for evil. And here's the funny part, though. The bad guys clone themselves, but I'm trying to think of how to explain this probably because it's so stupid. They treat things like...
They treat things like what? 1 second. What's up, babe? I'm live.
Did you bring in the leftovers from?
I did. Should be in the refrigerator. If not, give me a second. I'll go get them. Okay.
Okay.
Say hi.
Johnny Phil thingy. Whenever I'm on screen, I'm gonna read it. That's
Depends. Let me see. That says LOL Matt, the clone movie, and then we have my friend who's talking with her Laura Runner right there. All right, go downstairs and play, babies.
cool.
Love you guys. All right, go down and play. She likes your logo. Sorry about that, man. They visit every time.
Why would you apologize? Oh, you're apologizing to them. You
No,
guys
apologize
suck.
to
You
you.
don't get to apologize.
No, I apologize to you. What you were talking, weren't you? What was the movie about?
The important part is they act like at one point one of the guys gets his leg shot off. He's like, "Hey, those were new shoes," and so he goes and gets himself cloned to fix it. Now, I want to stress this: he dies. This is cloning,
Right.
not transplant. And so the whole film has this really stupid. It's even in the film about how they're totally casual about killing themselves, except it's okay because there's a new me that keeps going even though I'm dead. Sorry. Anyways, enough segues here.
Have you seen what the hell is it called? Primer.
It's
a short film.
Video. I think that video's already gone live.
No. It's not a Star Trek one. No. It's a short indie film about time travel.
I know.
Oh, so you got a video on it.
Hang on. Let's look this up.
Has it gone live?
Rumination Primer. Let's see if it's there. Hey, what do you know? 1 month ago.
Oh, wow. Don't know how I missed that one.
Analysis on Primer.
Maybe I saw it. Did you like it?
I loved it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It's also the kind of thing I aspire to make someday in the realm of reality and not having a lot of money because it relies on the tightness of the script to accomplish what cannot otherwise be done.
Well, and they came back on it. Maybe I learned this from you. Maybe that's where it comes back, and they're like, hey, we're just going to assume they're not stupid, or they'll rewatch it. They didn't necessarily hold anything back.
Oh, yeah. No, it was great.
Question on that, just out of curiosity. Do you think the reason why they can't write after that is because their hands were out of phase?
I mean, that's the canon explanation.
Is it? Okay. Because that's
it is the canon
assumed.
explanation. Yeah.
That's what I always assumed, because when they ran their hands over it, they just got out of phase, so it just didn't work or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So I do want to finish answering your question, though.
Sorry.
Would I have the Enterprise crew would I do the sci-fi debris thing?
Yeah.
Have them erased in order to... No. I've actually had a different idea, which has been percolating around in my head as I've been going through Enterprise. I would have them found the time cops. The temporal, oh God, there's actually an official term and I couldn't think of it then. I had to look it up.
Isn't that who they were dealing with?
No. See, Jackass, whose name I can't remember right now. I can't remember any names right now.
Okay, I'll find him.
If you need to go for it.
It's fine. No, I'm going to get it for him soon. Don't worry.
There's I look like Penn and Teller had a kid. Well, that is pretty amusing, I have to admit.
You do kind of look like Penn and Teller had a kid.
I get lots of comments about how I look like this or that or this. I don't know who any of the people are they're referencing. I know who Penn and Teller are, though. The few... Daniels, that's his name. Daniels is a pencil pusher for a department.
Department of Temporal Affairs?
No. Department of General Affairs is the other group. At least I think so. I could be getting my names mixed up. Please forgive me. I'm working on TOS right now, not Enterprise. But he's not what I'm talking about. He's just some guy who follows orders and does what he's told. This is made very clear in the episode Shockwave, where he doesn't even understand the kind of changes and alterations he is making to the timeline. He is literally just doing what he is told. I'm talking more about the stuff that they showed in Voyager, where there's a time ship, which has a temporal bubble around it to make sure it's immune to changes to the time stream, which is extremely important when you're doing this. And their entire job is to police all this crap.
Right. Like,
and
you're talking about the episode where he just walks out of something and everything's gone too, right? That's the episode.
Shockwave is that episode, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
So yeah, that is exactly what I would do. I would have Archer and crew. Actually, I would have T'Pol and crew come up with the idea to found this organization and just kind of try and figure out how to subsume themselves out of this. And to be perfectly frank, I would also involve Section 31 because of freaking course I would.
That has a very Legends of Tomorrow feel. Have you ever watched that? Probably not.
Actually, I have, but only a little bit.
Okay. So spoilers for that. Do you care about that or any?
Spoilers for viewers at home for temporal death doom
You gotta
of the Destructo Megaverse.
Put your Rosebud behind you.
Rosebud.
The Legends of Tomorrow, the main character, the main guy, Rory, I forget his actual name in it. I just remember from Doctor Who. He disappears for a while, and then he comes back and actually creates a entire organization that's dedicated to that. Like, so he started with Legends of Tomorrow, and they were trying to fix everything, all the alternate timelines and everything. And he actually goes and creates the organization. So that could be, what would be interesting to do with that. And then I think we will be ending it in just a second. But what would be interesting with that is maybe, Future Guy.
You mean Archer?
Yeah, this entire time. So we tie it into that. This entire time, they've been misunderstanding what Archer was trying to do. Archer was actually stopping maybe another big bad, and that's who Future Guy was, and that was the creation of that organization. That was him and that organization. And you could have the finale of Archer coming face to face with himself, where he's like, yeah, this entire time, and explains it all. They'd have to rewrite some stuff, but explains that there was actually something worse that was coming out, and he was actually trying to stop it, but he couldn't tell Daniels because, again, Daniels is just a nobody. He was just a guy at a desk. Yeah, really wouldn't have helped anything to tell him, and so they were working in the background. That could have been a really interesting way of doing that. And then you pull Future Guy into it, and it all comes around.
I have to admit, this is going to sound so stupid, and I swear I'll stop talking after this. I really loved the idea of the Temporal Cold War. I really did. There's so much you can do with that, and there's so many interesting ideas, and there's so many concepts and stories, and they never did any of it. You know how many episodes had the Temporal Cold War in season 3? Or season 1, excuse me, in season 1.
Well, it was forced on them. They didn't really want it anyway, right? I think it was like, 2 or 3?
3.
Yeah.
Counting the first episode, counting Broken Bow, there are 3 episodes, and that's it in the whole of the 24 or 26, whatever it is.
That's been my understanding. Was that wrong? You'd know better than me. I thought the Cold War. I thought some executive said we need something different. Do a Cold War, and the writers were like, we don't do that.
I don't have codified information. I don't have total facts. Researching Enterprise has been a monumental pain because there's actually a very small amount of behind-the-scenes information on Enterprise. But yeah, no, they wanted that. That was actually the initial pitch for Enterprise. Is we're going to have this temporal Cold War, and it's going to be all about this, and then. Braga, go write 16 scripts.
Good luck. God be with you, good sir. Go right.
I'm not even joking, by the way. For those of you at home, look at the list. There's a string in season 1 of 14 episodes in a row that he wrote. You want to talk about burnout? You want to talk about wringing the life out of a person? That's exactly what they were doing to Braga and Enterprise. It's insane.
Right. Yeah, it showed in the writing, I think, too.
Yeah, it did. Good ideas, terrible execution, almost across the board. Right. Like you could see the premise, you could see the skeleton of good stories that are there, and then you see crap. Just the actual result is what?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
And no, I did not Rogue Robot Studios.
What do you not? Sir?
He asked if I know how the writer's room functions for Kurtzman's treks. I haven't looked into the modern stuff. I haven't even watched it.
Why don't you know, though, is the question.
Well, you see, because I haven't taken over the world yet, but I'm going to. And if you subscribe to Lore Reloaded and give him a like and a thumbs up and hit that bell icon, then you will be spared when I conquer this planet. Right. And I am going to conquer this planet.
And you can go to lorerunner.com to see how he's going to do it. How
in a few weeks
he's going to do it in a few weeks when he actually takes it over. Guys, I want to thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Go to lorerunner.com. If you want to see more of this, what you definitely need to do is go to lorerunner.com, find his YouTube channel, go to different YouTube videos, and say, hey, I want to see you more talking on channel. Like every time an upload comes up, he absolutely loves this. So what you do is hit the bell icon, and every time it comes up, before you even watch it, say, hey, when are you going on Lore Reloaded, his podcast again, not just as Star Trek Adventures, but to have a conversation with them. So just do that over and like spam the hell out of him. He loves that. He absolutely loves it. So hit a like while you're doing it. And we're going to see you guys on the next one. I did your thing.
You did. I was actually just thinking.